Their last game, a loss against Phoenix, these were the back-to-back plays she was involved in on the offensive end. Created a lot of conversation over the past week. Clark would continue playing the rest of the second quarter and then would leave the middle of the third quarter with a back end.
Welcome back to Pro Caitlin TV. Just when fans thought they had a clear picture of Caitlin Clark's injury, a new wave of updates and reactions has completely changed the conversation. Across the WNBA, social media has been buzzing nonstop as fans, analysts, and former players try to make sense of what this latest information could mean for Clark, the Indiana Fever, and the rest of the season. Some fans are feeling optimistic, believing the latest reports suggest Clark is making steady progress. Others remain cautious, reminding everyone that injuries can be unpredictable and that rushing back too soon is never worth the risk. Meanwhile, sports media has been dissecting every update, every interview, and every official statement, leading to a flood of opinions and endless speculation about when the league's biggest star might return to the court. But here's where things get even more interesting. This story isn't just about an injury anymore. It's about how one player has become the center of nearly every major conversation in women's basketball. Why has this update sparked such an enormous reaction? What does it really mean for the Fever's playoff hopes? And why are fans saying the next few weeks could define the rest of Clark's rookie season? Stay with us because we're breaking down everything that's been revealed, the biggest fan reactions, and why this latest development has the entire basketball world talking. The moment news broke that Caitlin Clark would miss time because of her injury, the reaction across the basketball world was immediate. It wasn't just Indiana Fever fans paying attention. The entire WNBA community seemed to stop and ask the same question. How serious is this? And when will one of the league's biggest stars be back on the floor? Within minutes, social media exploded with speculation. Some fans tried to stay positive, saying Clark had overcome challenges throughout her career and would return stronger than ever. Others were more cautious, pointing out that injuries are unpredictable and that no one should expect a quick return until the team provides official updates. As those conversations spread, sports networks and basketball analysts began breaking down every detail they could find. Every official statement from the Fever was examined, every practice report became a headline, and every update about Clark's recovery sparked thousands of new comments online. That alone showed just how much the WNBA has changed. Only a few years ago, injury updates in the league rarely generated this level of national attention. But Caitlin Clark has become one of the biggest names in basketball regardless of gender. Since arriving in the WNBA, she has helped bring record television audiences, sold-out arenas, and millions of new fans to the sport. Because of that, any news involving Clark quickly becomes one of the biggest stories in sports. Many fans noticed something else as the discussion unfolded. Instead of focusing only on Clark's health, people also began talking about what her absence meant for the Indiana Fever. Could the team continue winning without its star point guard? Would other players step up? Could the Fever remain in playoff contention if Clark missed multiple games? Those questions dominated sports talk shows and online discussions. Some analysts argued that this would be an opportunity for Indiana's supporting cast to prove it could compete under pressure. Others believed replacing Clark's impact would be nearly impossible. After all, her ability to control the pace of the game, create scoring opportunities, and stretch opposing defenses has become a major part of the Fever's identity. Fans were equally divided. Many supporters urged everyone to be patient. They reminded people that Clark's long-term health matters far more than any single regular season game. Take all the time you need became a common message across social media. Others pointed to the long season ahead and argued that returning too early could create unnecessary risks. At the same time, there were plenty of discussions about how much Clark means to the league itself. Television ratings, ticket sales, and national media coverage have all increased dramatically since her arrival. Every Fever road game has become an event, with opposing arenas filled to capacity and fans lining up hours before tip-off just to see Clark play. That level of attention has created enormous excitement for the WNBA, making every update about her recovery feel like major news. Media personalities also emphasized another important point. Professional athletes deal with injuries throughout their careers. While fans naturally want immediate answers, recovery isn't something that follows a perfect schedule. Progress often happens one step at a time, and official medical updates rarely provide the dramatic certainty that social media users hope for. Even so, speculation continued. Every practice session sparked new rumors. Every photo or video of Clark generated fresh theories about her condition. Some people believed she looked ready to return soon, while others warned against reading too much into brief clips circulating online. That constant back and forth only made the story grow bigger. For Indiana Fever fans, though, the focus remained simple. They wanted to see their franchise player healthy, confident, and back on the court when she was truly ready. Winning games mattered, but protecting the future of one of the league's brightest stars mattered even more. As days passed, anticipation only continued to build. Every official update was met with excitement. Every media discussion created new debates, and every fan wondered whether the next announcement would finally provide the answer everyone had been waiting for. But just as the conversation seemed to settle down, another wave of reactions and analysis reignited the debate. Suddenly, people weren't just talking about Caitlin Clark's recovery. They were discussing what her absence revealed about the Fever, the WNBA, and the growing spotlight surrounding women's basketball. And that's where this story took an even more fascinating turn. As the days passed, the conversation surrounding Caitlin Clark's injury only became more intense. Every official update from the Indiana Fever was met with thousands of reactions online, and it seemed like everyone had a different interpretation of what it meant. Some fans believed the reports were encouraging and suggested Clark was making steady progress. Others reminded everyone that recovery timelines can change, and that the team would only bring her back when they were confident she was ready. That difference in perspective quickly fueled another wave of debate. On television, sports radio, podcasts, and social media, analysts began asking the same question. What does Indiana look like without its franchise player? It wasn't simply about replacing Clark's scoring. Her vision, passing, floor spacing, and ability to control the tempo had become central to the Fever's offense. Opposing defenses often built their entire game plan around slowing her down, and without her on the floor, Indiana had to find a completely different rhythm. Despite the challenge, many people saw an unexpected opportunity. Several commentators pointed out that Clark's absence could give other Fever players a chance to grow. Teammates who normally played supporting roles were now handling more possessions, taking bigger shots, and gaining valuable experience under pressure. Some fans argued that those extra minutes could ultimately make the team stronger once Clark returned. Others weren't convinced. They believed no amount of adjustment could fully replace the impact of a player who had transformed the team's identity. Since joining the WNBA, Clark had energized not only the Fever but the league itself. Road arenas filled with fans hoping to watch her play, television audiences climbed, and nearly every Fever game became a national talking point. That popularity brought another challenge. Every headline involving Clark attracted enormous attention, and with that attention came endless speculation. A single practice clip could lead to hundreds of online theories. A brief comment from a reporter could spark hours of debate. Fans eager for good news often analyzed every detail, while others urged patience and cautioned against reading too much into limited information. The media conversation reflected that same divide. Some analysts focused on the basketball side of the story, discussing lineup changes, offensive adjustments, and how Indiana could remain competitive. Others looked at the broader picture, noting how much Clark's presence had accelerated the growth of women's basketball. They argued that her absence highlighted just how important she had become, not only to her team but to the league's visibility. Social media continued to amplify every opinion. Supporters flooded comment sections with messages wishing Clark a full recovery and encouraging her to take all the time she needed. Many praised her resilience, pointing out that she had faced enormous expectations throughout her career and consistently responded with determination. They believed this setback would be no different. At the same time, critics questioned whether the Fever relied too heavily on one player. They argued that championship teams must be able to compete regardless of injuries. That opinion sparked immediate pushback from fans, who responded that every successful team feels the absence of its best player, and that Clark's importance only underscored her value. Meanwhile, inside the Fever organization, the focus remained clear. Rather than getting caught up in outside opinions, the team continued preparing for each game, adapting its strategy, and supporting Clark through her recovery. Coaches emphasized the importance of staying focused on the season ahead, while teammates repeatedly expressed confidence that they would continue competing until she was ready to return. That message resonated with many fans. Instead of demanding a rushed comeback, supporters increasingly emphasized patience. They recognized that a healthy Caitlin Clark for the remainder of the season would be far more valuable than returning before she was fully recovered. The excitement surrounding her eventual return never faded, but more people began to appreciate the importance of giving her the time she needed. As anticipation grew, so did the stakes. Every passing game made fans wonder how much different the Fever might look once Clark was back in uniform. Could the team build on the experience gained during her absence? Would Clark return at the same high level that made her one of the league's biggest stars? And how would the rest of the WNBA respond when one of its most closely watched players stepped back onto the court? Those questions remained unanswered, but one thing had become undeniable. Caitlin Clark's injury had evolved into more than a health update. It had become one of the defining storylines of the WNBA season. And as excitement continued to build, everyone knew the next official update could completely change the conversation once again. As the basketball world continued to wait for Caitlin Clark's return, one thing became crystal clear. This story had grown far beyond a single injury update. It had become a reflection of just how much influence Clark now has on the WNBA. Every official announcement, every media discussion, and every social media post seemed to spark another round of passionate debate. For the Indiana Fever, the mission never changed. The priority was making sure Clark returned only when she was fully ready to compete. Throughout the season, the coaching staff consistently emphasized the importance of long-term health over short-term results. Fans may have wanted to see her back as soon as possible, but most also understood that protecting the future of the franchise was far more important than rushing one game or one stretch of the season. Meanwhile, the Fever continued adapting. Players who had been asked to take on bigger roles began gaining valuable experience. Some stepped up offensively, while others made key contributions on the defensive end. Analysts noted that these challenges, while difficult, could ultimately strengthen the team's chemistry. If Clark returned to a more confident and experienced supporting cast, Indiana could become an even more dangerous team during the remainder of the season. That possibility excited many fans. Across social media, supporters shared optimistic messages, saying they couldn't wait to see Clark back on the floor. Some predicted that the time away would only make her more determined. Others believed the adversity could become a turning point, giving both Clark and the Fever a fresh perspective as they chased their goals. But the conversation wasn't only about Indiana anymore. League-wide, many observers pointed to Clark's absence as proof of how dramatically the WNBA has grown. Television broadcasts continued discussing her recovery. National sports outlets kept covering every official update. Fans who had only recently started following the league remained invested, eagerly waiting for the day they could watch one of basketball's brightest young stars compete again. That level of attention says something important. It shows that the WNBA has entered a new era where its biggest stories capture national interest. Every major development is analyzed, debated, and shared across countless platforms. Whether people are longtime fans or newcomers to the sport, they are paying attention in numbers the league has rarely experienced before. Of course, with that popularity comes intense scrutiny. Every performance will be evaluated. Every comeback game will be analyzed. Every highlight will be replayed, and every difficult moment will generate headlines. That's the reality of being one of the most recognizable athletes in professional basketball today. Expectations are incredibly high, but so is the excitement surrounding what Clark can accomplish. Looking ahead, the biggest question isn't just when she'll return, it's what happens after she does. Can the Fever build momentum and climb the standings? Will Clark immediately regain her rhythm, or will she need time to ease back into game action? Can Indiana turn this challenging stretch into a foundation for future success? Those are the questions that will define the next chapter of the season. One thing is certain. The moment Clark steps back onto the court, all eyes will be on her. Fans will be watching every possession. Commentators will analyze every pass and every shot. Opposing teams will prepare for the challenge she presents, and supporters will be hoping that the player who energized the league is ready to pick up where she left off. Until that day arrives, the speculation will continue. There will be more headlines, more opinions, and more debates about what comes next. But in the end, the answers won't come from social media or television panels. They'll come on the hardwood, where Caitlin Clark has built her reputation through talent, determination, and a relentless desire to compete. And that's why this story matters so much. It isn't simply about an injury. It's about one of the most influential young players in basketball, a team trying to navigate a difficult stretch, and a league that continues to grow with every passing season. When Caitlin Clark finally returns, it won't just be another game. It will be one of the most anticipated moments of the WNBA season, and basketball fans everywhere will be watching to see what happens next. And that's the latest on Caitlin Clark's injury update and the reaction that's been shaking up the WNBA. Now it's your turn to join the conversation. What do you think? How important is Caitlin Clark to the Indiana Fever's success? And do you believe the team should wait until she's 100% healthy before bringing her back? We'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop your opinion in the comments below. We read your comments every day, and they help shape future videos. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more of the latest Caitlin Clark news, Indiana Fever updates, WNBA highlights, player reactions, and the biggest stories happening around women's basketball, make sure to hit the like button. It really helps the channel reach more basketball fans just like you. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Pro Caitlin TV and turn on notifications so you never miss a breaking update, exclusive analysis, or the hottest discussions surrounding Caitlin Clark and the WNBA. We're committed to bringing you timely coverage, thoughtful commentary, and all